Hello and welcome to Of Time and Truth, my brand new channel where I'll be exploring tempo of particularly the 18th century and the early 19th century, and eventually dealing with the issue of the early metronome, where some of the settings seem incredibly fast. This being Beethoven's bicentenary and some of his metronome markings being highly controversial, it seemed like the appropriate time at the beginning of this new year to look at these matters. It's an area that I've been researching for some years. My approach is to look at sources around the metronome, i.e. where other methods are used of measuring time, but also looking at metronome markings later than the period which seems to be problematic. Retrospective comparison, plus looking at the period before the introduction of the metronome. So we look at the general trend, because I find it very difficult to believe that tempi would suddenly have changed during the early years of the 19th century, or changed dramatically at least, so as to cause some the phenomenon of the very fast metronome markings which sometimes occur. That said, some seem rather slow as well. So it's a very complex field. Bearing that in mind, just for this first video that has musical examples in it, I've taken two pieces which take their tempo from, other methods of measuring. So the first one, which is a movement from a Haydn symphony, or at least it's the theme from a Haydn symphony slow movement. It's the Andante from Haydn's Surprise Symphony. This appears in a piano tutor book of 1799 by somebody called Milchmeier, who is not well known, but obviously it was a very competent musician. It's a very well written piano tutor book, and he gives entire timings for the piece. So from that it's very easy to deduce the speed of the beat. So in this case, and this is, as I say, the first example, we'll have two examples, both from Haydn symphonies. This one is marked at crotchet equals 60, so the quaver beat is 120. So using my digital metronome, I'll give the beat first, so you can see that I am playing it at the speed that Milchmeier recommends. There we are, 120 for the quaver beat. So there we are, a tempo set in 1799 by Milchmeier for a Haydn symphony, during Haydn's lifetime, obviously, which is not to say it's exactly how Haydn would have performed it, inevitably, but a sure reflection of late 18th century practice, which does not rely upon a metronome. The second example is from Haydn's The Bear Symphony, number 82, and in this case it's an Allegretto. This is from a publication of 1800 by the English virtuoso, as he was, a child prodigy, William Crotch, who was born in about 1770, I think. Well respected in Britain, very much involved with the musical scene in London, and later he was professor of music at Oxford University, so highly respected. He, in a collection of works which encompasses lots of folk music from all over the world, as well as classical and Baroque repertoire, he gives timings in terms of pendulum lengths. He's very keen on that method, feeling that it is a cheaper and more accurate option than the metronome, even a few years later when the metronome is introduced in 1816. He also, by the way, was a very accomplished watercolourist, which is quite an interesting point. So from this collection we have, as I say, the Allegretto from the Bear Symphony. He marks this at 18 inches for the pendulum, and that works out at 88 beats per minute. So again, I will demonstrate that I'm playing it at that tempo with my metronome on my phone, and I won't be playing the entire example that he gives. He gives the whole movement arranged for piano, but the reason for that is just to keep the video short, and I'm somewhat afraid of making slips as I'm playing, so it's enough to give an idea anyway of the tempo at which he sets it. So 88, there we are, 88. So that's the crotchet beat, and we begin the melody with quavers. As I say, it does go on for quite a while after that, but that is an example of an Allegretto as set out in 1800, which I feel is not unlike a tempo we might choose today. I feel neither of these examples is either particularly fast or particularly slow, given the tempo descriptor with both of them, which is interesting for context. Thank you for watching, and look out for more of these examples.